All right, so recap really quick, right? So I'm always going to share with you guys like stuff that I'm reading, listening to, whatever things that are going to, grow and expand mindset. But leaders are readers, and anybody in Primerica that's been around for, more than 5 minutes and has done anything worth copying, they will tell you that they are constantly consuming new information. Hector Lamarck, I mean, if you ask him, he'll probably tell you he's read somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 just like improvement books, mindset books, like all that kind of stuff. So it never stops. And so you should always be putting something into your brain. Like if you're driving around back and forth, commuting to work, whatever, don't listen to the radio. Listen to something to like grow, right? Whether that's listening to a new book, listening to some sort of like SoundCloud audio from one of the old timers, whatever it is. But that's what you should be focusing on. And so the one that I sent everybody today, Fanatical Prospecting, that one, I mean, I'm only on chapter 8. And so like on Audible or any of your audiobooks, if you just speed it up to like 1.5, you can compress time, right? You can get through the same material in what, 25% less time? So it's because if it was double, right, that'd be 50% less time. So that's how you can compress time. Like you can't make more, but you can compress it. So I was listening to that book yesterday while I was pressure washing my lanai, right? Like find ways to double up your time. Like when I go walk in the morning, I'm listening to something, right? That's my Bible study time. And then I also like if I have more time, I listen to something else. So like that's how you're going to compress time. And so this fanatical prospecting is all about keeping your pipeline full. What the hell does that mean? Right? There's different rules that he kind of lays out, and it's like the 30-day rule is one of them, right? Like if you've gone 30 days without consistent prospecting, somewhere within the next 60 to 90, you are going to hit a massive, massive slump in your business, right? We say there's a lagging indicator, right? There's always a lagging indicator. So like right now, where our numbers are at, they're really good, right? They're balanced. We're at like 24,000 in premium and 25 recruits. But that always makes me nervous. Like when we get that close to like matching premium and recruiting, that makes me nervous because in the back of my mind, that means our pipeline isn't full enough on the recruiting side, right? There's not enough raw material coming in terms of new markets. And so, like, if you have a huge premium month and your premium blows your recruiting number out of the water, you'll be happy that month because your commissions are going to be high, but you better be like nervous as hell on the back end of that for the next 30 and 60 days because if your pipeline is empty up here, right? Well, downstream, that's where you're going to start having issues. So, like, if you miss a day of recruiting, it's not going to it's not going to manifest into some like massive problem or a day of prospecting, right? But if you miss more than one day in a row, you better be nervous. And now listen, that doesn't mean you have to recruit somebody every day. That doesn't, but prospecting is more than just recruiting, right? Prospecting is following up with clients, like reaching out to old clients, re-engaging, cross-selling to another product, reaching out to a client, asking for a referral, reaching out to someone and setting an appointment, right? That's prospecting, and that's where those sales leads come from. One of the things he talks about is that even if you have like salespeople that are outbound salespeople, like that's their only job is outbound sales, right? And you hand them a list, they will still find a reason to not call the list. They will. They'll still find a reason. And also, if they're not tracking their actual activity, they massively overestimate what they actually did, right? So he said one of the guys he sat down with had a frustrating day, right? He's like watching, and it's like people that worked for him. And he said, "Oh man, it's just so tough today. I've probably made at least 50 calls and nobody's biting." And he's like, "Really? Well, let me see your tracker." And he's like, "Oh, I forgot to use my tracker." So they actually went back, went to the call logs. You want to know how many calls he had made? Seven. Seven. Thought he had made 50 calls, had made seven. I think four of which went to voicemail. Right? So like we humans will naturally massively overestimate the amount of work and activity that we're putting in. But if you're not tracking it and you don't have something to actually compare it to, there's no way to know what you actually did. And so this kind of goes back to Miguel's jar theory, right? In the jar every day to win for the day, right? You close a policy, close a recruit, get a new license for your team, deliver 3 presentations, or like collect 10 new names and numbers. Well, all of that has to do with activity, right? If you are not generating activity from somewhere, it's not going to happen. Primerica is an outbound business, meaning you have to show value in some way, whether that's getting in front of somebody and giving a presentation, showing them value on the life insurance side, car insurance side, like whatever, guys. Like we do so many things. Like Angela was on an appointment yesterday, and the people have all sorts of different life insurance. They're all set, but they wanted a mortgage. They're interested in a refi. Guess what? There's like one guy in the entire hierarchy right now that has a license for mortgages in Louisiana. Guess who got the referral? That guy, right? But he would have never gotten that referral had Angela not been on a KT, which came from Haley because Haley was busy. But that's what it looks like, right? That's what it looks like. And so, oh, Apollo's trying to jump on. Hang on a second. Mm-mm-mm. In Telegram. But that's what that looks like, guys. And so what I would challenge you to do is, and I'm flipping this for myself, right? It's like this is stuff that I know and it's stuff that I've taught before, but after 4 years, the prospecting side of things starts to get boring. I'm not gonna lie, right? But that's one of the things where, like, if you go back and ask Art Williams, right? The people that win in this business are the ones that consistently do the same things that work over and over and over, right? Anybody can get excited for their first 30 to 60, 90 days in the business, but can you stay excited long enough and do those boring, mundane things long enough to actually build something to where it's going to grow and pay you and your family for generations? Ask anybody, right? It's always just consistently doing those same things, right? And protecting that time to where, and I'm probably going to start doing this to be completely honest, right? I think we can cut these meetings to 30 minutes, focus it really tight, and then from 9:30 to 10:30, I'm doing nothing but prospecting, right? That's calling old clients, that's reaching out to people. That's the future of this. And so guarding that time, but putting that on the calendar, right? If I have every day on my calendar from 9:30 to 10:30 as prospecting, I don't have a choice but to do it. It's there, right? I've scheduled it. And it's kind of like what we talk about when it comes to like solid yellow lines, right? Scheduling those things in, right? When you work from home, it's very easy to allow all of your activities to bleed together. And so we we teach, right? God, family, business, right? That's the order. That's the hierarchy. You schedule those things in, right? You schedule your time for whatever your God is, right? You schedule your time for whatever your family things are going to be, and everything else you fill with business. You schedule those things, you put them on the calendar, you protect them, and then everything else that's white space on your calendar, you fill with business. That's how you win. Fact. But if you don't schedule any of that other stuff and you try to just fill it with business, you're going to run into the issue that I did within the first 7 months. You have a ton of success, but it's because you burned everything else down, right? So schedule those things in, protect that time because you have to. Because if you don't, come 6 to 9 months from now, you may have a quasi successful business, but everything else is going to be in ashes, and you that's not what we want. Right? So God, family, business, protect that time, whatever that looks like, right? Like you can't schedule on my calendar on a Sunday unless I allow you to. I can override it. But for, like Sundays are protected, right? Now, if Sunday's month end and whatever else, like I will ask Melissa, like, hey, like you get it, it's month end, right? She's like, yeah, you're good. But that's because we've been doing this for a while. But if your family's used to doing something and you're like, oh, I gotta get this, right? Yeah. So it's you have to just start thinking about what that looks like and protect that time. Now, if you want to work on a Sunday, cool. But you're going to go to church and have lunch and whatever, then don't let your calendar schedule before 4 p.m. or something. I don't know. But again, whatever that looks like, figure that out. Figure that rhythm out early. And it's going to save you a lot of heartache over time. All right. So back to fanatical prospecting. I want you guys to think about scheduling your time in the morning to allow for that. Put it on your calendar, right? Put it on your calendar. Like if you want to break from the meetings and then from 10 to 11 is when you want to do prospecting, cool. But protect that time. And as I'm talking through this out loud right now, thinking back to East Coast Builder School, the Haitian teams, they don't book any appointments until noon. You know why? Because they're on the phone every morning. That's what their like process is. And that's why they're crushing it. They have a like from 9 to noon, their goal is to make 100 calls. And one of the other things he talks about in the book is the mindset around a cold call, right? If you were defining a cold call, right? Anybody want to unmute yourself, define a cold call. What do you think? Haley, go for it. You're looking at me. You're the only one. What's a cold call? Like
I was
define a
looking
cold
at
call.
you. A cold call is calling someone you don't know and just calling them and asking them if they're interested.
Perfect. That's legit, right? A cold call is someone you don't have a relationship, someone you don't have any sort of existing business with whatsoever, and calling them and trying to set an appointment, right? That's a cold call. But if you ask most people in sales, right, today, they think that calling anybody is a cold call. Calling them without an appointment already pre-existing is a cold call. That's patently false. If they're an existing client, that's a warm, hell, that's a hot market, right? If you're calling an existing client, that's a hot market lead because you're calling, you're following up, and then you're looking to cross sell at some point. And if you can't cross sell for something, you're looking for a referral, right? That's not a cold call, right? But if you ask most people in sales right now, they're so focused on the inbound side of things, hoping and praying that someone is just going to call them out of nowhere, right? And try to buy something or set an appointment or whatever. That's rare, guys. It might happen, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. Yeah, people call me, right? But not every day. Our entire business doesn't exist off of people calling me and setting up and trying to get an appointment and looking for investments and life insurance and that sort of thing, right? And the only reason they call me to this day at this point is because we've been doing it for years, right? Almost 3.5 years at this point. That's the only reason that happens. And so you can't look at something that might work for me or even Andy and expect that to work for somebody from day one. You have to build it. You have to grow that brand and you have to get in front of a lot of people, right? Brad Gerard, right? He's one of the big investment guys. He runs the MPI stuff on Thursday, so the massive passive income. I stole a presentation of his from that group, and it's the five to stay alive. I'm gonna run through some of it really, really quick because I want you guys to see it, and I'll share it with you. I stole it this weekend. I kind of wanted to peruse it first. So five to stay alive. Now, this is going to be very, very investment focused, but the prospecting premise remains the same. Okay. And one thing I'm going to jump down to really, really fast, and don't worry, I'm going to share this with you guys. It's his slide about like you can't fight the numbers. It's in this one, I think. Hold on. Hold on. Lord, maybe it's not this one. Maybe it's this one. I stole a bunch of stuff from him this weekend. Nope. That's about Lent. That's fun. Where'd it go? Look, I mean, guys, even people that are only focused on investments, they still talk about filling the jar, right? Hold on. Maybe I closed it on some from something else. But it was literally you just can't beat the numbers. And the good side about that though is if you can't beat the numbers, if you run the numbers can't beat you. Hold on. I'm going to share this with you guys, but it's like 60 slides. It's a ton. But there's a lot of different good things in here in terms of like reaching out to people, prospecting. I thought it was in here. Damn it. I stole so many things from him the other day. It must have went away. All right, I'll find it. That's on me. That's on me. I thought it was in that one. But that's one thing I would like to shift to, right? So from now on, from 9 to 9:30, we'll do drill for skill, right? Super quick. And if we're not seeing much from this, because it's starting to kind of feel like an extension of Wolfpack, right? And I don't want to meet for the sake of meeting. That's not no, that's a waste of time. Um, so I'm gonna sort of like look, I'm gonna go back and sort of like relook and sort of like revamp what what we do during this time, especially if we're gonna condense it and it's gonna be 9 to 9:30. Um, we may keep meeting, we may not, but you tell me like if this was helpful, and I think it was, right? When we were specifically doing like the like overcoming objections and it was you guys and not me talking, right? That is helpful for sure. But let me know and I will come up with a more like rigid schedule of what that time is going to be because if we're going to get it done in 30 minutes, we're going to need like a concise sort of compact um, focus. Okay. So what do you guys think? Should we keep this and make it more of just you guys talking, or what do you want to do?
I feel like it would be good to run through things still, especially newer people who are trying to be independent. I think them running through it with us would help before they get in front of like a recruit.
I'm with you, right? I'm with you, but where are they? I mean, Apollo's here, Randy's here, but to your point, Haley, like those are things where one-on-one field trainers and leaders need to be doing that with their people. Like if you're getting close, because like if if somebody's new and they're about to go independent, they don't need to be here for that. They need to be with you doing that. They need to be on their own, setting up a Zoom call, like a fake Zoom, just pulling it up, sharing it, recording themselves going through that process. That's what they need to be doing. Like you have to be very careful on the like on the line of like helping someone prepare and then trying to do it for them because the people that are going to actually win as like entrepreneurs, business owners, that sort of thing, they're going to do the work, right? They're organically going to do the work. You can't hold their hand. You show them the process. But if they're not willing to go do that and try on their own, the it's not going to happen, right? They can be a great silent partner, they can send referrals, they might close something every once in a while, but the ones that are going to win and build something are going to naturally sort of do it. Right? The ones that you should be like sort of pushing harder are the ones that keep coming back saying, okay, what's next? What's next? Right? Like Apollo has been in the business for like 5 minutes. Randy been in the business for like 5 minutes. They're here because I put it out there and they're here. Those are the ones that you are looking for because those are the ones that are saying, okay, here's an opportunity to train. Good. 2 or 3 days a week. Yeah, Angela, I'm kind of thinking something along those lines, right? Like something like this, like if I can give you something to go listen to, read, right, focus on. Um, but yeah, let me sort of like brainstorm what that is going to look like, and I'm thinking maybe like Monday, Wednesday, Friday we drill, right, and then Tuesday, Thursday I can give you guys something to expand on. But that also might shift because um, of days I'm doing Wolfpack or whatever, because then it would just kind of bleed like right into the next one. Um, but I also don't want to just tie up 2 mornings or 2 hours every morning of just meeting because that's just 2 hours that we're not like producing. Does that make sense? Yeah. Fridays, absolutely, right? Fridays going over objections, 100%, because Friday, Saturday, Sunday is designed to get into the field with clients. So 1,000% Friday going over objections is huge. That's a great um, that's a great suggestion because you guys would agree that last week forcing you guys to go over objections and do it out loud, and then all of the like training and fixing that came from that has led to a lot more closing, right? The drill for skill of forcing you guys to do the KT demos 2 weeks ago has led to you guys producing more these past 2 weeks, 10 days, 100%. Right. So I promised you like a real life example. So back to the whole prospecting, keeping the pipeline full, right? Haley had gone through some probably 90 days plus of poor activity, but even worse, that poor activity had put her in a bad mental space. And so when you get into that mental space, right, there's a bunch of studies scientifically show that your brain doesn't care if what you tell it is true. It just cares what you repeat. This is why affirmations work. This is why saying things out loud that you're actively doing, right? Even if you're not doing it, you have to speak to yourself in the present tense. I am $1 million earner. I'm a national sales director, right? Those sorts of things, not I'm going to be. Because I'm going to be could be tomorrow or it could be 50 years from now. I am, right? Jen, what's the book? As if, give, can you type it? I can't remember the actual like title of it. Um, if you can go find that, please let me know because that's another one I want to go download. Um, but so those affirmations work, guys. Like, and that's why, like, your brain doesn't care if it's true. Your brain cares what you continuously repeat. And so Haley's a closer, right? She is. But that lack of activity had turned her into a self-doubt machine. And she was in a mental funk and she was in a bad place. She texted me the other day. She's like, "Hey, thank you so much for not giving up on me." I said, "Girl, I don't give up on people. Never give up on people. People give up on themselves, but I never give up on people, especially people that I've trained personally and that I know can do it, right?" And so, but where did that funk come from? That funk came from lack of activity, not producing, right? Which in her brain means I'm broken. I'm not doing it. I'm not capable. What did I do? Right? There, all of this self-doubt creeps in, but you can fix all of that with activity. And going back to the idea of continuously, actively new prospecting, right? Perfection is the enemy of good enough. So many people wait for the perfect time to call somebody. They wait for the perfect time to, oh, they're probably at lunch. Oh, they're probably here. They're probably Who cares? Pick up the phone, shoot them a text message, right? Make contact. Make the calls, right? Make the calls, then follow up with emails, then follow up with social media, then follow up with some text messages, right? But getting that activity going is going to keep you in a position, right, to always have business coming in. Because what happens, right, and he talks about it in the book, what happens is if you stop prospecting, if you stop prospecting, what will happen is you will have some success from the prospecting that you did. You'll close those, right? You'll build that, and then you'll stop, right? That 30-day rule, 90 days later, within that window, you're going to get hammered. And so what happens then is you get into this frenzy of need, right? And the universe will fight against you because you need it. And because when you need it, you get that commission breath, even though we're on Zoom, right? People can smell the commission breath kind of thing. And when you need it and you're like chasing it, it runs, right? But if you're consistently setting appointments and you're consistently reaching out to people and you've got a pipeline that's full, right? It'll just happen. And then some of those ones that you may have needed will just kind of happen and they'll surprise you, right? But you're consistently closing those ones that are going to be there. That's where it's going to change. But if you aren't sort of keeping track of that and you're not consistently doing it, your business is going to look like this, 100%, right? Because look at Haley now, right? Haley's done more premium and production in her leg in this month than she's probably done in the last 90 days combined. And it's fact, right? And so this goes back to, right? I told Haley a month and a half ago, I said, girl, you have to go back to direct personal recruiting. Direct, right? Letting it come from like layers away from you is not it. You have to go back to direct, right? And even if it was just like one layer away, right? So like Amber got going again. Amber was out there floating around, and I said, girl, you need to just come back to some meetings, right? She was having some issues, and I said, just come back, just plug into a meeting. You got people that love you and care about you, just plug in. Well, now she's plugged in, and now she's recruiting independently again and back going fat like more than she'd ever done before, right? Just keep reaching out to people, right? Keep reaching out to people. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is as you continue to prospect new people, it keeps you from going back to dead ends, right? Because if you haven't been prospecting, you've got nothing going on, what do? You go back and you chase people from like 7 months ago that were like, oh, thinking about it, right? Now, I'm not saying stop following up with people because statistically, about 80% of business that gets closed over time comes from somewhere around the eighth to 12th contact. That's sales. That's what that looks like, right? And so never stop following up with people, right? Until they just tell you to tell you to go away, right? But until they do, they're a prospect. Remember, the 1,000 name list is somebody's name goes on the list and then it comes off the list. But it doesn't come off until they tell you, until they've either become a client, right? They're an active client, or they tell you to beat it. That's the way that looks. That's the way that looks. Yeah, that different posts, right? You just never know what's going to work. You never know. But if you never are willing to try something, right? So guys, that's all I got for this morning. Any questions, anything on that? Any questions about like the prospecting and things? I think leaving here today, one thing I would like you guys to do is actively start keeping track of how many messages and calls you're making, right? And be honest with yourself, right? Be honest with yourself. Paul, what's up, man?
Well, I don't have a question on it, but I have to talk to you and Michelle because I
Mhm.
have someone I spoke to yesterday that is interested in doing exactly what we're doing.
Cool.
Yeah,
Perfect. So yeah, so for everybody, right? So the because you haven't even made a social media post yet. So the
yeah,
easiest thing to do is without like overwhelming the person, right? You put you, that person, and Michelle as the person who's going to be like direct, actively like training you. Put them in a group chat together. Like, hey, Jen, this is Michelle. She's my field trainer. She's going to give us some more of the information because I'm just getting started. and then
awesome.
and then back up. And I'll give you all the scripts and everything so you can kind of see what that order and everything looks like. And we're going to go over that on orientation today. But the social media side of that is is sort of like free inbound prospecting, right? You put something up, it's like attraction marketing. You put something
Yep,
up and then you see who responds because anybody that responds to that social media post is open to it already,
yep,
right? They came to you, they're open to it. And so they're already curious. So that eliminates some of the need for the cold calling, right? But it doesn't replace it. It's a prospecting tool.
yep,
Well, Primerica's been around almost 50 years, way before social media, right? And sales in general, right? Like sales in general. And so like that's just one tool, right? The phone is another tool like going to, trade shows, going to business networking. So BNI, right? Business Networking International. Those are local type groups. Chamber of Commerce, uh, connecting, networking with realtors in your area, tax attorneys, CPAs, though, like all of that sort of like networking and cross pollinating of businesses and like cross referral of businesses. Like guys, that is huge. All of that is huge. And so just different ways of doing that. But yeah, Apollo, that's the next step, man. Just put you and that person in a group text with Michelle, and then she's got the scripts for that. And just text her first if she's busy because she's homeschooling today. Just put me, you, and that person, and I'll do it for you. That
cool.
way you can
No
kind of see
problem.
the process. Cool.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. If you got ideas for what you want for what would make sense for the drills, like kind of like Angela said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, send that to me. I'm gonna put a calendar together today, this morning while I got some time, and I think that's how we're gonna focus um, drill for skill time going forward because I just meeting to meet it kills me, right? And we kind of did for the first 3 weeks, we got through a bunch of that. Now I need to tighten up what that's going to look like going forward. So send me your ideas and we'll go from there. All right. I'll get this recording out. And then for Randy and Apollo, like the YouTube link for where I post all of the trainings, it should be in the Telegram group pinned at the top. And if it's not, I'll go find it and then like repost it so you guys can click that, subscribe to that. And that's all of the trainings that I've run personally are in there. So and there's a ton. All right, guys. Apollo, I'll see you, Michelle, at 11. All right.